At first light the village looked like a held breath. Mist clung to the cabbage patches, tin roofs sweated dew, the Marham Road drew a red line east toward the low hills. Leah stepped out in an old-school t-shirt, shorts rolled at the hem and nothing on her feet. She liked the ground honest, cool, grainy, speaking in tiny pebbled syllables to the soles of her feet. From the veranda, Mama lifted her head from the singer machine, mouth full of pins. Yuzakimbi kama anatoroka, she said. Don't run like you are running away. Leah answered with a nod and a grin because truth told, sometimes she was. And sometimes she wasn't. Kimani was already by the mango tree, long shadows striping his calves, blue bandana tied at his wrist. Sasa, he said. Sawa, she answered, and they set off without ceremony. Their warm-up loop passed the kiosk where a radio coughed static before landing on a rumba tune. A rooster argued with a goat, a boda skated past, rider hunched against the dawn chill. The road rose and dipped like a patient animal. They kept it easy at first, 2 in, 2 out, arms quiet, hips steady, until the sky tugged the gray blanket off the hills and showed the day's hard bone. At the crest, Leah pulled a step ahead, testing him. Kimani let her have it for 100 meters, then drifted to her shoulder with a half smile. Pole, he murmured. Not a warning, more like a reminder that the road is long and it keeps receipts. They flowed past maize stubble and a field of sunflowers craning sleepy heads. Kids walked to school in oversized sweaters, rubber shoes slapping, turning to watch the barefoot pair racing nothing and everything. Leah counted fence posts to keep the rhythm. Kimani watched the line where road met horizon and imagined reeling it in. The village turned its face toward them, Auntie Wairamu throwing water from a basin, old Mzee Muchua leaning on a stick, the butcher sharpening his blade like a man rehearsing a song. By the time they hit the mango tree again they had written a red ribbon of footprints behind them. 2 tracks braiding, separating, rejoining, always near. They stretched on the cool grass. Steam rose from their backs like morning prayers. You'll win the school's marathon, Leah said, aiming for casual landing near truth. He shrugged, eyes on the dust motes. He corrected. We'll run it. He didn't say, I need you in my ear when it hurts, but she heard it anyway. They packed the quiet between them like ugali, plain, filling, shared with the fingers. When Leah jogged home, Mama had set tea to simmer with ginger. You run like you're chasing something, Mama said, feeding the charcoal jiko. Maybe it's chasing me, Leah said not unkindly. Mama's mouth softened. Then let it find you strong. Leah drank the sweet hot, felt the heat run its lanes beneath her skin, and thought of the road waiting tomorrow and the day after, and after that, a faithful, dusty judge. After class the field became a township of small ambitions. Boys arguing headers, girls practicing netball pivots, a smashed-faced drum serving as Coach Weeks's desk. He propped a cracked blackboard against it and drew the marathon route in chalk. School gate to the maize depot, up the hill by the church, long bend past the market, loop at the cattle dip, back to the stadium. Hydration points here, he said, dotting the map. If your stomach rejects, sip and swish. Listen to the road. It speaks Sayo? Weeksa walked like a man who had once lived at 257 pace and now made peace with the ordinary gait of teachers. Rumor said he had a county vest stored in a trunk, the number pinned like a memory. He held a whistle but his voice worked better. You Leah, cadence sweet. Hip stable. Don't fight the ground, borrow from it and pay back on the downhills. He turned to Kimani. You long levers quiet head. Your gift is economy. But you love the front like it owes you money. Patience Kijana. They ran 6 by 800 on the back oval, which was more suggestion than oval, goat-nibbled edges, 2 bald corners, and a ward of anthill at 250 meters. Leah kept splits in a notebook soft with sweat, marking each rep with a short line, as if tallying debts she intended to settle. Kimani floated a stride ahead, then obediently tucked back when Weeksa barked, pack. Learn to feel the drag. When the 3rd rep bit hard, Leah counted fence posts again, a superstition dressed as a method. On the 5th she slipped, right foot skidding in a powder of dust. Kimani's hand shot out, steadying then gone, like help that doesn't need witnesses. During drills the boys made jokes about barefoot runners being village relics. Leah answered with a 28-second stride out that silenced commentary. Kimani said nothing. He had learned that the road converted silence into meters. Between sets the coach talked fueling, Mandazzi and tea 2 hours before, not less. Salt in the water, bananas if you can afford them, groundnuts if you can't. You are not engines eating pride, he said. You are bodies with math. At session's end, an unfamiliar man stood with Weeksa at the touchline. Sunglasses, a cap with a city club's crest, clipboard tucked under the arm like a held secret. He watched Kimani jog a cool-down loop, expression carefully unhelpful. Leah felt a small shift, like the moment before rain when birds go quiet. Weeksa called the two of them over. Pacing talk, he said neutral. The man nodded once at Kimani, and the air around the nod grew crowded. City camp runs a weekend in 2 weeks, the man said later, voice smooth, Swahili polished by meetings. We invite promising boys. Sometimes girls if the numbers allow. Kimani's fingers worried his bandana. Leah wrote down the cool-down stretches like she could stretch out time. The road had spoken. She wasn't sure she liked its accent. Leah's house was a room split by a curtain Mama had sewn from leftover kikoi strips, reds and greens arguing, then agreeing at the seams. The singer machine chattered late, metal clinking like distant rain. Hold your shoulders, Mama said, eyes on the bobbin, words for posture and for life. A strong back tells luck where to sit. Leah ate sukuma and ugali, salted the sukuma twice and told Mama about Weeksa's drills. She did not speak about the man in sunglasses. She did not say they invite promising boys. Sometimes girls if numbers allow. She stored the sentence like a stone in pocket. Across the village, Kimani slept near the door on a mat thin with seasons. The goats muttered outside. His father rose early for the quarry, shoulders squared to a life that didn't care how fast you could cover distances. When Kimani returned from evening chores, he found a cheap poster tacked beside the calendar. Eliud smiling, tape breaking, numbers obscene in their neatness. His father had bought it at the market stall that sold everything and nothing. If your legs are going to talk, the old man said without sentiment, let them say something worth hearing. It was permission rough as a quarry stone. The next dawn Leah and Kimani ran the river loop, where dew beaded on elephant grass and the path narrowed to a single file. Leah took the lead, hips whispering left, then right, avoiding roots like a dance she never learned and somehow knew. At the iron footbridge she paused, breath writing clouds. If they ask you to go, she said, eyes on water the color of tea, go. It came out flat, neither blessing nor dare. Kimani traced a finger along the rail rust. If I go it's only a road. Roads run both ways. He didn't say, I don't know how to carry both you and this, but the bridge knew, it kept the confidence. Their romance had no loud declarations, no carved initials, no secret rings, only small economies of care. A shared banana, a wrist steadied on a bad patch, a seat saved in the shade. Yet people noticed. A classmate sent a note, your friend looks heavy with attention. Leah smiled, folded the note until the ink cracked, and used it to bookmark her biology chapter on lungs. The body is an argument with the world, she thought. It wins by repetition. On market day Leah helped Mama sell mended dresses, zippers coaxed back to life, hems persuaded to behave. A group of boys drifted by, laughed sneering about barefoot village aesthetics. Leah raised an eyebrow and the tallest one looked away first. She kept seeing that cap crest in her mind, the city club's logo shining like a coin tossed beyond reach. She didn't want the coin, she wanted the reach. That evening, Weeksa found them at the mango tree with a new plan. Long run Sunday, 24 kilometers, controlled first half, pressure second half. You'll learn to wait, he said, and then softer, you'll learn to leave. Leah looked at Kimani. He studied the dust. Somewhere beyond the hills a bus engine announced its heavy faith. The village listened. So did they. The interschool trials banked the road with color, banners tied to acacia thorns, jerrycans rattling with water, cups like bright mouths. Hawkers set kettles on charcoal, tea breathing ginger into the morning. Weeksa paced the start line with a clipboard salvaged from a decade of school budgets. Hold yourself, he told Leah, tapping her shoulder. You are a cup. Don't splash. To Kimani, you are a kite. Don't fight the wind, use it. A whistle blew and the girls surged first. Leah tucked mid-pack, eyes soft, feet firm. The course took them past the butchery, around the football pitch where a goat had ambitions, up the church hill that punished pride. Leah counted breaths and kept her cup steady. 2 girls went early, new shoes and loud elbows. She let them argue with the hill. At the cattle dip she drew level with a third, exchanged a grunt that translated as respect, and moved on with clean intent. The boys started 10 minutes later, the road accepting their thunder like an old friend. Kimani slid to 4th, then to 6th as if disinterested. Weeksa smiled into his collar. On the back straight the city man reappeared, sunglasses reflecting a dozen small futures. Kimani waited until the market bend, where the road widened and the crowd tightened, then opened his stride like a door he'd repaired himself. He passed 3 in the space of a shouted price for tomatoes, then 2 more in the hush that follows a surprise. He broke the tape with the expression of a person who has heard this story before and loves it anyway. Leah finished third, chest ablaze, mouth salted. The girl with new shoes puked neatly into a bush, then laughed and offered fist. Leah bumped it. She took water from a teacher with a bucket and made a crown of cup rims on the ground by stepping on them lightly, a silly ritual that made kids giggle. Her legs hummed with the clean pain of honest work. After the medals, a thin ribbon's whisper of gold for Kimani, red for Leah, the city man shook Weeks's hand and beckoned Kimani aside. Leah busied herself with stretches, counting to 8 again and again like prayer beads. When Kimani returned, his smile was crooked. "Weekend camp in Nairobi," he said like a line he'd practiced. "Trials for the junior squad." Leah pressed her heel into the ground until the world sharpened. "Good," she said and made it almost sound like good. They walked home along the Marram. The sun burned the dust into incense. "You'll see real tracks," Leah offered, trying to lace wonder into the word real. "And real shoes," Kimani returned, aiming for light. They laughed because what else do humans do when a road forks in front of their bare feet? At the mango tree they stopped. "Run easy tomorrow," Leah said. "Travel eats legs." He nodded. Their hands didn't touch, their shadows did. News travels on feet and in mouths. By evening, the quarry had heard, the church choir had opinions, and the kiosk radio added its static blessing. Kimani's father looked at the invitation letter like it might sprout ears. "Bus fare?" he asked. Weeksa had already solved it, passing a manila envelope between committees and kindnesses. "Community invests," the coach said. "Returns paid in pride." The old man grunted, which in his language meant gratitude with a guard. Leah tried the words on her tongue. Nairobi camp. She told Mama over plates that clinked thinly. Mama's eyes flicked up. "Your road is not his road," she said, not unkindly. "But roads can share bridges." Then she fetched a small jar of coins from the cupboard and pressed it into Leah's hand. "Shoes?" she said. "Not because you lack, because choice is power." Leah looked at the coins like they were a soft permission. She still loved the ground honest, but she loved leverage too. At dawn they ran a short loop, no heroics, a taper not of distance but of nerves. Leah matched Kimani's cadence and told him stupid jokes about goats with dreams. He laughed harder than the jokes deserved. At the mango tree, silence arrived like a third person. "You'll go," Leah said, simpler this time. "You'll run, you'll be measured, you'll see who you are in a room full of legs." Kimani nodded, eyes on the bandana at his wrist. "And you'll hold the hills here," he said. "You'll make them say your name." The bus left at noon, metal skin printed with places neither of them had visited. Weeksa handed Kimani a paper with session reminders, a prayer disguised as a plan. "Warm up 15, drills, strides, don't race every rep, eat after within 30. You belong in any line," he told the boy. "The road does not check surnames." Leah stood a step back from the crowd, feeling the village breathe through her. When the bus door folded shut, Kimani lifted his bandana. She lifted her chin. It was a wave no one else could see. That afternoon Leah ran alone, the long loop past the eucalyptus and the dam where dragonflies stitched light to water. Without Kimani's shoulder the wind felt louder. She used it. She practiced the late surge, teaching her body to wait and then go, a lesson for sport and for everything. Back home she wrote splits in her notebook, each number a small, stubborn act of self-definition. At the camp, Nairobi smelled like warm tarmac and hurry. Kimani slept in a dorm with 8 bunks, the air full of dreams and foot cream. The track was red and engineered, lanes drawn with a ruler, the first stagger a geometry lesson. He ran with boys whose strides looked like math carried to 7 decimal places, and he didn't embarrass himself. The coach with the crest watched from the shade, eyes cool, clipboard cruel. "We'll see," he said to Weeks's contact, which in that world meant both maybe and test. On the second night, Kimani called from a borrowed phone, voice thin with distance. "Shoes feel like cheating," he said, half joking. Leah laughed into the curtain between their rooms. "Then cheat well," she said. "Bring back stories." After the call, she lay awake, listening to Mama's machine click itself to sleep, and realized a truth she didn't ask for. Love is an endurance event with 8 stations you cannot predict. You fuel when you can. You hold when you must. You learn to leave and to return without losing yourself on the course. The first shock of Nairobi was noise, buses coughing diesel, matatas shrieking painted slogans, the swarm of voices pitched like markets stacked upon each other. Kimani followed the other recruits through a gate painted green and white, into a compound where the track gleamed like blood made tidy. Here, barefoot was curiosity. Most wore brand new trainers that squeaked against the lanes. A coach in club colors clipped a stopwatch to his belt and barked times. The first session was intervals, 12 by 400 meters. Kimani felt the rubber underfoot spring back at him like a lie. Still, his body adjusted. By the fifth rep, he ran with one boy from Eldoret and another from Kericho, forming a pack that bent the wind together. Their cadence sounded like drums too fast for village dancing. Kimani clung, drifted, clung again, learned the taste of lactic acid like coins on the tongue. At night, bunks rattled with snores and whispered boasting. My uncle runs at Kasarani. I once beat a junior champion. Kimani said little. He folded his blue bandana on the locker, lay staring at the corrugated ceiling, and thought of Leah's laugh echoing on the hills. When he called the mango tree back in his head, the city quieted enough to sleep. Meanwhile, Leah trained alone. The road stretched lonely without Kimani's stride beside hers, but she grew leaner, meaner. Each morning she tested herself. Hill sprints up the church climb, tempo along the dam, surges by the maize depot. Her notebook filled with numbers like tiny victories. Mama mended dresses and asked careful questions. He will return? Of course, Leah answered as if the road were a rubber band that never snapped. Word came that Kimani had been shortlisted for the junior squad camp extension. He would stay another month. The village held a small celebration. Tea Mandatsi, neighbors clapping backs as if success were a shared harvest. Leah smiled with everyone else, but inside she wrestled with a strange shadow, pride wrestling with loss. At school her classmates teased gently. Your husband is going to Nairobi, one girl sang. Leah rolled her eyes but her ears grew hot. In chemistry class formulas blurred. She longed for the rhythm of two pairs of feet, the comfort of a silence that knew her name. That weekend, Weeksa pulled her aside after drills. Listen, he said. The scouts forget girls but time is changing. Run like you are not waiting for permission. He handed her an entry form for the county trials in Kisumu. Leah blinked. But transport? Weeksa shrugged. We will find. What matters is, are you afraid? She shook her head too fast then steadied. No. That night she told Mama. Her mother kissed her forehead softly. Run your own road, she said. And for the first time, Leah believed maybe she could. Kimani wrote to Leah in the only way he knew, on scraps of paper folded into his bag to be delivered when he came home. The lanes are smooth but they burn like fire. I miss the clay. I miss how you count fences when it hurts. Here nobody counts. They only watch clocks. Another, the coach says I am light on my feet. He says city boys run with too much pride in their shoulders. I run like a village, he says. I don't know if that is insult or blessing. Leah, lacking an address, wrote in her notebook as if he would one day read. Today I beat my own time by 40 seconds. The damn wind almost killed me, but I kept thinking you would laugh if I slowed. Another, Mama says love is like sewing. You hold the fabric steady even when the machine jerks. I wonder if distance is the needle. When Kimani finally visited after 4 weeks, they met at the mango tree. He looked sharper, muscles carved by drills, stride heavy with new confidence. She teased him about city shoes. He teased her about her notebook obsession. They laughed until the dust swallowed their sound. But in the laughter lived something fragile, unspoken. The road between them had grown longer. Kisumu glittered with lake light, the air thick with fish and diesel. Leah arrived with Coach Weeksa and 3 other hopefuls. She had borrowed shoes from an older cousin, heavy and ill-fitting but better than blisters. The county trials were fierce, girls with polished kits, sponsored water bottles, coaches shouting splits like commands. Leah stood quietly at the start, listening to her heart gallop, reminding herself that clay roads had prepared her. When the gun cracked, she ran smart, controlled, patient. Mid-pack at first, she let others fight the headwind. At the final lap, she surged. The ill shoes clomped, but her lungs sang. She crossed 7th out of 20. Not podium but not invisible either. One coach scribbled her number. It was a seed, small but alive. Weeksa clasped her shoulder. You are seen, he said. Leah's smile filled the bus window all the way back. Meanwhile, Kimani's club had him racing 5,000 meters at Nio. He finished 5th, enough to stay, not enough to shine. He thought of Leah somewhere far, perhaps racing too. Their roads were parallel lines, running close but not touching. The weeks blurred into exams, training, letters folded and unfolded. Kimani's world spun faster, diet charts, gym sessions, ice baths. Leah's spun wider, markets whispering her name, Mama's pride stitched into every kangahem. But between them, silence stretched. Calls grew fewer, messages shorter. Leah sometimes wondered if he was forgetting her voice, or if she was forgetting his face. At night, she lay under the mosquito net and whispered, "We are still us," to no one. Kimani, in a Nairobi dorm, whispered the same words and wondered if they meant the same thing anymore. Kimani finally returned for school holidays. The village turned him into a hero, children chasing his shadow, elders shaking hands. Leah met him at the mango tree, and for a heartbeat, all was the same: dust, laughter, silence. But something had shifted. His eyes looked past hills now, toward horizons she could not see. When she told him about Kisumu, about placing 7th, he nodded, proud but distracted. She felt it like a pebble in her shoe, love still there but ambition louder. Training together again should have been joy, but it became friction. Kimani pushed harder, wanted longer runs, faster paces. Leah resisted, saying, "Coach says patience." He snapped back, "Patience is for those who don't have time to waste." Their argument echoed off the hills. She stormed ahead, he slowed behind. Later, guilt bridged them, but cracks had formed. Weeksa watched, frowning, knowing ambition could build or break, depending how you carried it. Finally, the inter-school marathon came. The whole district gathered, banners snapping, drums beating. Leah ran with calm strength, steady and deliberate. Kimani ran like fire, surging from the start. In the end, Leah placed second among girls, a medal heavy on her chest. Kimani, after leading much of the race, collapsed in the final kilometer, finishing 4th. The crowd whispered, the scouts frowned. At the podium, Leah's smile was quiet but radiant. Kimani's was forced, shadowed by disappointment. Their hands touched briefly, neither sure if it was comfort or apology. Afterward, scouts approached Kimani again, offering another chance, this time in Eldoret, longer, harsher. Leah was offered a scholarship to a sports school in Kisumu. 2 roads. 2 choices. They sat under the mango tree in silence. "Maybe this is how love runs," Leah said softly. 2 races side by side, not always on the same lane. Kimani looked at her, heart torn. "And if the lanes separate?" She held his gaze. "Then we trust the finish line is kinder than the start." Months passed. Leah in Kisumu, Kimani in Eldoret. Letters traveled, sometimes late, sometimes lost, but still written. They grew, not away but differently. Leah's patience bloomed into discipline, Kimani's fire into resilience. Years later, at a national meet in Nairobi, Leah laced borrowed shoes while Kimani tightened his bandana. Their eyes met across the lanes. A smile passed between them, dust, clay, mango trees, laughter, silence, all in one. The gun cracked. They ran. Separate lanes, same race. The crowd roared. And for the first time, neither was afraid of the distance.